Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Desert Oasis. It's good to be back. It's been a little while, even for me. I've been busy moving apartments, but we're all settled now, and the plans for the next factory have been completed. So we're ready to go. Hopefully the series can just get running again, mostly uninterrupted by external forces. I thought I would just mention, of course, this is almost like phase 1 of the aluminum factory. You know, it took 4 videos to do, and I'm thinking of making a small playlist just for that factory and doing something similar for the one that we're about to work on now. So an almost sub playthrough, and we could maybe number them. I know a lot of people say, like, why don't you add the numbers to the videos and stuff, and that goes way back. I used to do the numbers on videos, and this was a series where I wanted to try doing it without. So maybe something smaller where we could follow along individual builds would be a sort of meeting in the middle of that kind of thing. So aluminum is done. Obviously the back half is left empty until we figure out what we want to do with the other ingots that we make, and the place is obviously capable of ramping up its production to double what it currently does. So we are set for the future for aluminum. Very happy with that. So let's dive into the plans for the next factory. On the right hand side of the screen you can see that I have listed that we're going to do a sulfuric acid outpost. And I'm assuming the title of this video has probably talked about that a little bit to give it away. So very quickly, I'm just going to open up my planning document here. So this is a program called Milanote. It is not free. I mean, there's a free version of it, but if you want to build anything meaningful in it, it's not free. It also doesn't plan factories for you. These are just images I've downloaded from the wiki and kind of laid out. It's a mood board, and I've connected it together. A lot of people use Satisfactory Modeler on Steam. I'm sure it's great. I love using this because I can link other factories together and have a more cohesive package. I can also, if you have a look at the aluminum factory, I can also lay it out exactly how the factory is laid out inside. So like the layout of these machines, 3 here and 3 here, reverse direction, that is literally how it's built. So there's just a bit more control in this for me, and I like doing planning by hand. It's fun for me. So back off, because a lot of people keep saying, like, why don't you use Satisfactory Modeler? It's like, I don't know, I just don't want to use it, alright? Everybody chill. Right, so this is what I'm using instead. Plus, it's also really nice visually just to show you guys exactly how things are working. So, I've decided that we're going to tackle it all at once. Bit of a crazy thing to do, it's quite complicated, but once I started planning out how we're going to do crystal oscillators, how we're going to do radio control units, it just seemed natural to fit everything kind of in together. And it'll future-proof us for a while. So, the end product, well, let's just talk about this diagram very quickly. On the right-hand side of each of these, almost every component has a little pink arrow coming off of it, and that's to indicate excess. So it's either going to go into a dimensional depot, or it's just going to go into an awesome sink. That is why this factory is also doing a little bit of silica, quartz crystal. We'll have some quick wire left over, so it's taking care of everything that we've got in the world, but making sure that we all have it dimensionally depotted, so we're ready to go. Okay, so quite a big and complex affair. This uses a lot of alternate recipes. So if we go all the way back to the very beginning, where does it start? Well, it starts in a variety of components. The sort of silica and quartz crystal, that's ultimately going to be needed for the crystal oscillators and the radio control units. Okay, so that's what those two things are kind of there for, but also just for me. And if we go further back on that, we have nitric acid, something we haven't used yet, and also then all the way back, a little bit of iron, right? So we start off with just some basic iron, you get the plates, you mix it with gas, you get nitric acid, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of one component to the factory that I think we'll do at a different time. So it's sort of like the quartz crystal, almost the quartz section of the factory. But what we're going to do today is the sulfur section of the factory. My plan is to do that up on the cliffs up here. So we just had a look at where the Caterium is. It's up on the cliffs, and there's also a sulfur deposit. I know you can't really see my mouse very well, but a sulfur deposit right around this little angle area here. So it's really high up there. So there's also a body of water up here. So it's kind of perfect, right? We'll bring the Caterium up just a little bit extra. It has to go just a little higher. We'll get the sulfur out of the ground, we'll use the water, we'll make all this stuff, and then we'll bring the additional sulfur pipeline down from the waterfall into the desert proper. So this begs the question, where are we going to actually build the factory floor itself? How big is it going to be and all that? I don't know. This one is such a big plan that it wasn't really easy for me to decide how big is this going to be. Yeah, I could do that, but it would take literally a day or two of planning and fiddling around in game with where things are going to go. We're just going to build it and make these decisions on the fly. Now, I have decided ultimately where it's going to go. I was going to do here. to really try and fill in this kind of empty space within our sort of desert allotment. But because of the unknown nature of the size of this place, I'm actually going to build it out here. So the liquid, we'll just fly over to it very quickly, but the liquid biofuel factory is just there in the distance. Obviously the iron complex here is right in front of me. So across from the iron complex, we just have a sea of sand. There's some water nearby next to the waterfalls, and the rail line is here at this turn, and the road is here. So it's kind of perfect because we need a little bit of everything. The road is going to help bring some of the products around to some nearby factories, and the rail is going to help bring things in from afar. That's kind of what I plan on doing with rail. I don't really plan on supplying, you know, we don't need to be sending 4 turbo motors per minute on a rail line inside this complex, this area in here. Don't really need to do that. I think the rail line will be best served bringing things in from outside, for the most part, by going to like far-reaching ore veins and stuff like that, gas, whatever it might be. So I've ultimately decided this is where things are going to go. How long is it going to be? How big is it going to be? I don't know, but we've got lots of space out to the south, so we should have no problem there. And then I'm ultimately picturing a big sulfur pipeline coming straight down and feeding in here. Now, some of the sulfur will keep up there to mix with the deuterium, like I said, but the copper, the sulfur that's going to be used for the copper, that's going to just come straight down and feed into some sort of factory that's going to be along here. Alright, so that's my little quick wire production down there, and I've just connected the power towers up to this plateau. I've just cleared some of the wildlife. There are nuclear hogs and spitters and stuff up here. That is the sulfur that we want. So it's right in the edge of a cliff, super awkward, and we're going to grab that, pave over this area, and feed it all the way over to the pool of water that's just in the distance over there. So, one of the awkward things up here is that, of course, there are uranium deposits kind of scattered around the place, and I haven't even unlocked my regular gas filter production yet, let alone the iodine-infused filters that are needed. Oh, by the way, speaking of turbo motors, we got some right here, 9. Nice. Anyway, that will help building a few miners in the future. Right, so, in order to deal with the uranium, I'll have to make a hazmat suit. We'll do that in the next episode probably, or if I do end up doing it in this one, I'll mention it later. I don't plan on doing it right now. The problem with it is we need a little bit more oil. So we have a huge oil pipeline out here, and that's great. What we could do is simply upgrade one of the pipelines to do 600 instead of 300. By the way, you might be wondering what's in here. So it requires high-speed connectors. This factory will make those. I could handcraft a few and open this up. I'll do that in a few minutes. It's worth mentioning what we've got going on in the MAM right now. I've actually got 5 additional hard drives on me. So if I go to hard drives and I try to scan one, it actually says it's unable to scan hard drive, brackets, no rewards currently available. That's because the list is entirely full of every recipe that we have available to us right now. Now, as we progress the tiers and milestones, more of these will open up. So it's not like the hard drives are a waste or anything like that. Yeah, so I just did that. I kind of collected a few as much as I could in between episodes just to get ready for finding exactly what we need, which is leached copper ingot. So there we go. If we have a look at that, it's 45 copper in, 25 sulfuric acid, and we can see that sulfuric acid is a mixture of water and sulfur, so quite simple. All right, so we'll select that one. The next one down at the very bottom actually as well was leached deuterium ingots, so we want that. The pure deuterium ingot will also be needed, so we'll grab that one. The next one that we're going to need is the fused quickwire recipe, so that's going to be mixing copper ingots and deuterium ingots to make quickwire. This one's really good. There's a reverse version of that, which is the fused wire. So it's copper ingots and deuterium ingots again to get wire out. So these two go hand in hand. They work out really well with their numbers and stuff. So these are awesome to use together. Next up, we'll need the silicon circuit board. So again, another great recipe. This uses copper and silica to make circuit boards. I would say it's the best one, in my opinion anyway. It's like, to me, it's quite easy to make it this way. And another one of my favorites is the steamed copper sheet. So just mixing water with copper ingot gives you a much higher volume of copper sheet out for the copper in. So it's all an even ratio, 22.5 of each in, and you get 22.5 out. So we'll get that one. Now, I was looking at the extra sulfuric acid that we have, and I'll probably use it actually to make an additional amount of iron ingots here. We could make up to 750 iron ingots if we just mix it with some sulfuric acid. However, this is kind of quite optional. What isn't optional is this one. This is more important to get this early on. It's quite a cool one, actually. So we send in the quartz, we mix it with nitric acid, and we get a high volume of quartz crystal out. But we get dissolved silica, which will rebuild into regular silica later down the line. So we're going to get this one as well. And that'll have to be it for now. So I'm going to throw these hard drives back in to roll some of the things again that we were missing. And I might just make the high-speed connectors I need so I can open this up, and we'll probably delete this because the factory is going to kind of be placed here. Alright, we should have what we need now. We'll just open this one up. Bonk. And we'll grab that. Now we can just delete them. Do I have room in my inventory? Yeah. Easy. Yeah, so we can use all this area in future as well when we get the geysers, right? So geothermal power, I guess is what we'll use that for. I'll clear this place in a minute, but let's have a look at that actually real quick. So in quartz, is it? Oh no, that'd be in Caterium, but look at this. We actually have the radar technology. We should just get that now. Why not? Deploy a radar up here, see what's going on. Oh, I can't. Of course, we're getting the hard drive. Oh yeah. Well, we'll have a look in a minute. So quartz, let's get the radar tower and just build one for funsies, and then we'll also have a look at the Caterium just to see about the geothermal energy. Might as well throw that in there if we have it, which we don't. We need this first. So plastic and quick wire, high-speed connectors. Okay, easy enough. So plastic and a full thing of quick wire. I think a full spool. Yes, there we go. Okay, so geothermal energy is now available if we just make more high-speed connectors, plus some more quick wire and some motors. So we have the latter two, we just need more high-speed connectors. So I might just make some of those myself, and we could get that up and running in no time. But for the meantime, let's just keep scanning hard drives. Alright, so we have to determine the height that we want to work with. So we'll go with the foundation 4 meter, lock it into the world grid, of course, because this place is going to connect its pipes down below. Although you could go off the grid, I suppose, for this, but I think we're okay. It's actually really nice because the world grid is sort of in line with the cliff. So the world grid, its axis is north, west, south, and east. So up, down, left, right. On this map here, that's the world grid. So this is pretty much straight down the line. We don't have to angle anything any different. So I'm happy to just go with this. World grid it up. And go across. Could we go even higher than that then, I guess? So let's go 1, 2. And just to see if this would slot in correctly. Yep, that's totally fine. Alright, so go to there. We'll go up another 4 meters and just continue that straight across. And I'm just curious, is this going to be too high now when we get further out? Yeah, maybe. We could come down to here then, maybe. Alright, so I've got a layout that I'm pretty happy with. I'm actually going to go a little further over towards the cliff edge for the first group of refineries. Still don't fully know where the next group are going to be, but probably here somewhere. This is the uranium deposit. This is where the hard drive used to be. So this is on the Caterium side, right? Caterium rolling in from there. So I imagine the Caterium refineries can go there. Now on the to-do list, refineries are a bit further down. Water extractors are obviously going to go there, and then the miner placement, we know where it's going to go. So let's just get this done first. So I have a blueprint for this. It's refineries times 4 in PL. So what does that mean? It means that the input is pipe and then left direction, and then the output is pipe. So just like my other various machines here, we have in left, out right, whatever it might be, in left, left, out right, whatever. You know, all the different variants that you can possibly have. Refineries aren't too bad because pipes can go either direction, so you don't have to really worry about that, but it's whether or not the input is going left or right or the output's going left or right for the material. So I'll have to make versions of those, but I'll just make them as needed. So this one's obviously fine for now. The only caveat with this one is the inputs are actually slightly raised, just to match the kind of height that we have coming in here. So bringing it all the way down to the corner or the edge, and then we'll just shift this over so it's in the middle. So that's our first 4. So this is just doing pure sulfur refinement, nothing too crazy. And I'm just going to put the other one down right next to it. Like there, so not over as far as it... Oh yeah, actually this is as far as it could go. That's fine then, yeah, cool. And then, like that. I didn't feel like I need to do auto connect. We'll just connect these ones ourselves. It's just one belt over that way, and then the pipeline Mark II. Interestingly, I must have used the regular pipeline for this. I think I'll switch that to be clean pipeline Mark II, and just color it appropriately in a minute. So the colors I've gone with, this is the actual hex code for sulfur. It's FFFF00. And then I've gone with something I've called Oil Slick Blue. So it's 003366. So that's the color we're going to be using there. So that one, Blue Oil Slick. So just color the pipes again. And that's going to be water in, but I just thought that color contrasts the sulfur a bit more nicely, so I've used that instead. And then this is our sulfur pipeline out, so it's on the yellow foundation, which is what we want. I'll just combine those two. So each of these pipelines should be doing 400 per minute. That's the idea. So hopefully it'll work. And last thing would be connecting the power across. There we go. So that's our first 8. So 8, 16, 24. We need 24 in total, so let's just keep going. So the next one, blueprint mode, we can actually just look right in front of this and then just nudge it over until it's in line with the foundations, the center point of the foundations. So there we got another one. And this one's going to be the same. It's actually in its correct spot already. Yep. All right, and then just 2 more of these, and then we'll just make sure those are hooked up as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. I'll have to... Obviously, these poles are just to help me fly around and stuff, and they're still not good enough, of course. But, yeah, I'll move them as needed and bring them up. Now we've got poles here, so these ones can actually be removed. Cool. All right, there we go. Just like that, 24 refineries, all doing sulfuric acid. So they're requiring 50 sulfur in, 50 water in, and they're putting out 50 sulfuric acid. So in kind of an even mixture, anyways. Yeah, so I'm just going to update these pipes. The good thing now that I've colored one section is you could just grab that and we could just upgrade these ones and they keep their color. I'll just go across. Oops. So nice and easy. So I'm just going to connect all of these and then we'll, yeah, we'll figure out what we have to do next. All right, there we go. Now they even have power. Although this is the variable power line, I think. Yeah. So this isn't actually the power line that they're going to be using. This is just while I'm building it, just get a few things up and running. We'll bring the normal power up here later. So for those who don't know, my power lines are split into 2. One is the solid, or not solid, but the standard power line, I guess, that uses for all machines. And then I have another power line for anything that fluctuates. So like trains, trucks, awesome sinks that might turn on and off, just things like that. It helps me just know when factories are running right and when they aren't. So anything that's going to ever vary will go on this smaller power line. Obviously later on in the game you get machines that vary as well, such as geothermal power, and you also get like quantum encoders and particle accelerators. These ramp up and down. I'll try my best to keep them on their own power line. There's just something very nice about having it having a clean power line that I really strive to, that I aim to just to keep in this game if I can. So that's a me problem though. You can obviously just put everything on one if you want. Okay, so that's all looking good. I might just do the logic for this really quickly as well. So these obviously need water in and they're putting sulfur out. To avoid them clashing, I think I will actually bring the water pipeline along and feed in from this side. So we're kind of going over the edge of a waterfall and a cliff here, but I think it's okay. I think I'm relatively still structurally sound to build over this, and we can maybe put in some glass foundations and stuff to make it look kind of cool, because this will be inside. And that could look quite nice, I think. So yeah, so we can extend out to there. This gives us room then to add in our water pipeline. So I would say we can even just begin this, get the layout ready here. So this will be 1, 2, so yeah. Well, we don't need to turn here, actually, sorry. Or a junction, we just need to turn. So let's go with straight mode, please. There we go. So straight to there. Is this gonna work? No, sorry, this should be the one furthest out, shouldn't it? Yes. Yeah, so then we can just bring this out. So 1, 2, and then forward, I think to there. And we'll just have a pipeline of 3 pipelines together. So we'll do this one. This is going to go right in the middle. So about there. And this one is going to go right on the edge. So about there. And then, to make it all look kind of even, we'll just bring them all to next to each other. That way they look like they have their breakpoints in the same place, and just makes things look a bit nicer, I think. And we'll color the junctions yellow to kind of match what's happening here. Yeah, so pretty happy with that. So this is water in. So ultimately the water in, we'll just start it, say, let's here. Well, actually, I'll even go further back than that. All right, painted. So there we go. That's our 3 water lines now feeding these 3 groups, 400 per minute on each, and then 400 per minute on each coming out for the sulfur. Looking good. Let's hook up the sulfur belt. Alright, so for this we've got 3 groups, so why not try to load balance it, yeah? Just one little splitter. Instead of in the center, I'm going to bring it over just a little bit more than normal. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that's where we are. Good. So the first input just goes straight in there. The next one will go roll down straight mode into there. And then we're going to need a support pole. So 1, 2, so that's where that one is. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where I think it'll be. And we'll push it back to the line. Okay, and we'll grab this, connect to here. Default mode, there we go. And then this can just go straight down in there. This gives us lots of room for the pipes underneath, because we're going to be sending out the sulfur this way, just as we did the water on the other side. We'll have 3 sulfur pipelines here. I guess some of them are going to be going right this way though, so I'll figure that out soon. But yeah, that's looking good to me. So we'll work our way backwards now. So we'll go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's kind of tempting to keep it raised the whole way down. And there, okay. So yeah, let's go another one of these. Mark 5 out of our mines. That way though, please. And let's get our miner. Miner Mark 2. Rotatio. Okay, easy as that. Blindingly bright piss yellow, but acidic yellow, let's call it. But looks good, nice and straight, and we can walk along this slightly elevated above this area. So this area I think will probably do the Caterium ingots. Okay, so the next thing is water extraction, and then we're going to bring the pipelines over that direction. That's what we're aiming for. Again, using painting, I think we could just say very simply, I'll probably just bring it along here and turn it out to some direction over there. So maybe we don't need all this concrete here. Alternatively, we could bring the pipes out this way along the waterfall and just straight down there. That could look kind of cool actually, maybe. Okay, so this is where the pipeline is going to come down, so I'll probably just bring this down into the... Oh, it's actually not that deep. Down to the water. I was going to make that where the pumps go. I wonder if I go down here and we place this here. Can the water extractor go that high? How far down is it? It's not bad actually. Yeah, it might clear this without any pumps at all. It's pretty close, but I think so. We'll give it a shot. Seems like less than 10 meters. All right, that's 4, that's 4. The thing was slightly raised, so maybe it's 9, maybe 10, but like no more than 10, I wouldn't think. You get 10 free head lift, by the way, so I think this height is probably okay to have it be our sort of anchor point. In fact, yeah, let's just go down 1 lower than that. So if we go here, sink down by 1. And if this is where the junctions are, I think we're good. So, yeah, we need 3 pipelines of 400. So, maybe somewhere like here. It's pretty tucked in, but I think it's okay. 1, 2, and then we just need to reverse this and do the same. 1 and 2. Now, these will need to be set to 100 each, right? We want to clean 400 on the line, so we'll just say 100. That's 83 recurring. We'll do that. Paste, paste, and paste. And I guess we don't need that little point there. And this will go in here. Cool. Alright, we just join these together. We can make it a pipeline, clean pipeline Mark II. That's going to go this way. This will be the one on the inside track, so we'll just go to stay there. Alright, very simple, elegant, nice. Just need to do that 2 more times. 1, 2. And then build this out to 4, whatever. Bring power with me so I can fly. We'll put down the junction just here in the center. Whoop. Just here in the center. Grab this guy. Rotate. Line him up. Are you lined up? Yep. Pretty good. And another one there. Alright, so that's another line done. Super quick. Plug those in momentarily. Did I copy these? Yes, they're all the same. That's great. So yeah, so we could continue that down. There's not much room then. There is like room for 1 here. That could be our specialist one if I didn't want to use that little lake. But I think we'll just save this space, that's fine. And off the opposite side we'll just do the same thing. This might be a bit dodgy. It's quite close to the the thing. Oh no, I think we're gonna be okay. The next one along here, resource not deep enough. Yeah, I can see why. We're right on the edge of the beach. Well, maybe we'll just stagger it a bit. If we just push this up by one, that's okay. So that'll be the middle line, and then we'll need one somewhere here. So just like that and like that. There we go. And then 1 and 2. All right, that's our 3 pipelines, all capable of doing 400. So I'm just going to paint this, join these all together, and then we'll continue as we're about to raise it up. All right, there we go. Our little pockets of 4 extractors each, 3 pipelines, all ready to go. Just cut this away. We don't need that either. And we could cut that away. Now, they obviously need their power and stuff, but we'll just continue the pipeline up here. So like I said, I'm pretty sure at that height that we're coming in, this is less than, so that's 4, 8, and then 9. So we should be less than 10 meters. So we should be totally fine without pumps. So we'll do horizontal to vertical and go straight up. And just like that. So that's where we're going to need them to go. So to make life easier in lining these, we'll just do that and then that. Grab this one and go down. No, this one then up. That's the way it wants to do it. Alright, now it's like a straight beeline out towards our refineries. So let's go. Alright, there we go. Simple as that. Pipeline goes all the way out and plugs straight into the refineries. Really happy with that. It was much easier than I thought it would be. I thought I would have to make use of a lot more of this lake. So I went with this kind of like oil slick blue color I talked about, and then the cream white. So cream white is the color I used in the aluminum factory. It just gives it a bit more depth, I guess, than just regular white. But yeah, look at this. Super happy with this. All right, great. So that's the water extraction done for this section. We'll have one more water extractor, like I said, in that little lake that we have. Next up is the refineries for Caterium. Alright, so for the Caterium refineries, now we need 25 refineries, but if you remember, they're different. 20 of them are using the sulfuric acid, and 5 of them are just going to be using water, the pure recipe. That water can come from there. Ultimately, they can all combine back onto the same belt, so we don't have to worry about that. So to get us started, we have the blueprints here for 4 refineries with a left output, and I'm going to tuck it right in as far to the edge as we can. So being fed in, so the Caterium should be coming in from where that power tower is. So about there, we're in the center of the foundation now. That looks good to me. Then we'll do the next 4 in a line right across from it. So that looks okay. And then the next 4 somewhere here. Now just thinking about it, I might need to move this actually. So if I did 2 more, how much space do we have on the side? We've got about 2 foundations worth on this side, so that's where it would go. And we need 7, right? So 4, 5, 6, 7. We've only really got 1 free on the side, and that's for the output. So we do need that. I'm just wondering where we can bring in the sulfur. The sulfur line. I wonder, could we get rid of this and see if we can go lower than this? Yeah, if this could just continue straight in a line like this would make life a lot easier actually. So maybe I'll lower this belt by 2 meters or something, or just raise it, because we could raise it up the whole way. I think I'd said that when I was initially putting it down, saying like, oh, maybe this would work. Yeah, because this continues the whole way. This would make life way easier. So the sulfur line could continue here. That means that maybe either the sulfur just goes under the... Yeah, the sulfuric acid could go under the belt, or we could shift this belt out over to the right. It would just have to turn then last minute, which would be a bit weird. So I would just say raise this, keep the pipelines underneath here, and yeah, we don't need to move these. So let's just continue this way. If this isn't making sense, it will in a second. So let's go blueprint mode. Just regular blueprint mode, please. There we go. And yep, so ultimately we're cutting away 1 on each line, except for the last line, in which we'll cut away 2, and then I'll connect these together. So like that, and like this. So it's 7, 14, and then here we'll have 21, but we only need 20, so that's 21, and now down to 20. So that's the way it's going to be. So I'm just going to clean this up, right? I'll connect these blueprints, And the plan for this then is to keep the height that's here and just bring that all the way out straight, keeping exactly where we are, but just stay all the way straight and make that lift on the end a little higher. And that should make things look a bit nicer, because then these pipelines, this sulfur pipeline, can travel out this way and just plug into the groups that it needs to. Alright, so I did say that I wasn't going to clock any machines any differently, try to use just recipes at their purest form, just to make life a lot easier, and also try to avoid the 600 on the pipe. That's where the rubber meets the road. So we have 3 outlets here, each doing 400 per minute. So very easily, we could just grab half of this pipe, merge it with that one. We'd have 600, and it could go down here. But I really do want to avoid the 600 thing. So just in the off chance that in the future it stops working or something because the frame rate slowed down, I don't know. I just want to avoid it. So because of that, it's like, well, we could use 3 lines of 200. That'd be nice. But that means that we can't really divide in 3 lines into 20 refineries very well. So instead, I've got 21 refineries. So we have to clock them differently. So if we have 200 on each pipe, and by standard, 200, and by standard, each of these machines is trying to take in 30, you would need 6.6 recurring machines. So I could clock them all down, or very easily, we could say that, well, let's say 30 times 6 of the machines, so 6 machines running normally, would take 180. That leaves 20. So that means we could set this to require 20 in. Yeah, so just 1 machine change. Now, unfortunately, you can't edit this. So what we could do is say, well, the 66.66 recurring, hit enter, and boom, we get our 20. Now, on the calculator, it does come up like this, with a 7 on the end. So 667. So I'm inclined to try that. It doesn't seem to change the number here. Hopefully that'll be okay. And we set it just to the first machine on each row. Better to be the first one than the last one, I think. So let's do that. Okay. So there we go. So that should be clocked accordingly now, so that they are requiring 200 per minute each in terms of liquid. So in order to do that, we need to break this one into 2 lines. So I would just use this as a sort of splitter and turn this one here. Grab that one and turn it here. And then grab this one, which will actually split a bit further out here. So we get that 400 in. Whoop. Then we get this and bring this down. So I've used Mark 1 pipes there on purpose to kind of encourage that behavior. Although some would debate whether you should do that or not. I don't know. We'll leave it as is. Alright, so there's our 3 lines of 200. So basically we'll just travel these down, and at certain points we'll just cause breakpoints. Alright, so in you go, and in you go. We go through the support, so couldn't be more perfect. Alright, let's go straight into your friend. You're going straight down. You're going to your friend. You're going straight down, and you're going into your friend. Alright, so that's 3 groups just like that, and we just finish this one off. Bonk. Cool. Alright, so that should be 200 sulfuric acid per line going into this area down here. I don't think we need buffers or anything like that. What would be required is that we make sure that these all fill first before we let their outputs go. So it might be the case where we'll actually do it. We can make an awesome sink just for the restart of this whole setup that takes in the Caterium ore, and only when we decide that these machines are full, we flip the switch and we allow the ore in. So that's what we could do. I mean, to be honest, it's a bit redundant actually thinking about it, because we could just switch on the miner. Actually, that'd be just as effective as creating an overflow awesome sink switch. All right, so that's that done. And then the Caterium ore all flows out this way. So the last thing to do for the Caterium refineries is to make our little water extractor here and make our blueprint for the 5 that are going to go here. And they're feeding onto the same line, actually. So they should be all feeding on here. So just got to basically build a little blueprint designer and just make a quick design on that. It turns out I actually don't need a different design. This is the exact same design. So we'll just grab this one and we'll just switch the recipes inside of them. So we're just going to move to... let's rotate it around, actually. Just move this... yeah. So we'll just go here. Like that. Should be fine. Is that in line with its buddy? Yeesh. Okay. I wonder, actually, thinking about it, We want room for the water to go this way, if possible. Yeah, so I'm just going to nudge this down. We're going to try and get in line with the other machines, but just here, I think would make it even. Right, so I'm looking at where that goes in and that comes out. So that's 4, and then we need a 5th one on the end. So I would just copy this. Output goes there. And merger goes there, and we just copy all the belts and stuff in. Should be straightforward enough. But then, of course, yeah, we have to select the pure ingot recipe. So let's get this here. I feel like when you put these down by themselves, they don't line up. There we go. Is that right? But it seems like too far out now. And that almost seems too close. How is that even possible? Alright, cool. Anyways, right, so select recipe. We'll find the pure Caterium ingot. So it requires water and Caterium ore. We need 5 exactly, I think. So I'm just going to copy, paste, 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 and paste. I think so. Anyway, so let's see, that's 12 per minute. So 12 times 5, that's 60. That's exactly what we do need. So that should be fine. And I think for the ore and everything, that'll just all work itself out. Let's say 24 times 5, it's 120. Yep, perfect. So 1 extractor. You know, it just works. As I've said before, it is Todd Howard approved. Now, obviously the paints and stuff are a little wrong for this one, so we'll just recolor this to be blue for that kind of watercolor that we've been using. Just paint that in there. And this will be Caterium ore traveling in from down by its little buddies as well. So yeah, we'll just copy this to here. Put these both in. And 1, 2, 3. Let's get rid of the bottom 2. Connect that in. I think a Mark IV is probably overkill for this, but that's alright. What is it? It's 120, right? So we can make it a Mark II. Just take in the exact amount of ore that it needs. Okay. Just give that its little paint. And I don't know if I redid this or not. Just to make sure. Okay, cool. Right, so that's the water. So we have to get the water extractor somewhere over here. Again, it should be the same height as the lake. So that means that... Oh, it's even higher than the lake. Great, so we definitely don't need a pump. So we'll do water extractor. I might pop down a junction just somewhere like here. So that's its junction. I'll do a water extractor, rotate here, hold control. Does it line up? It does, actually. Give it some space so it can get up and over it without any hassle. There we go. And then this one is just going to go straight down the line. Sorry, I'm messing up. I want to do the straight mode. Alright, cool. And I'll paint all of this in just a sec. Alright, boom. There you go. Whew. Alright, so they're all doing pure Caterium ingots. So water plus ore, Caterium ingots. We'll hook it up to power. We'll get their belts sorted. The last thing to do for Caterium would actually... So that's all the refineries placed, right? So that's done. And we've been doing the logic the whole way. This is all going to combine onto the same belt line, which is here. And this is going to go down our waterfall out towards the desert via a tower, along with some excess sulfuric acid that we're going to use. But what we haven't actually hooked up yet is the input of Caterium ore. So the ore is going to be coming somewhere from over here. Maybe we'll go straight over this line here. I'm not sure. But ultimately, we do just have to create splitters. Now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. So I'm not going to bother load balancing this. This is all right. Whatever. It'll figure itself out. 2, 3. It's too awkward with 4. I need too much space. I've really only got one foundation to work with, I feel like. I mean, I could extend up, then things would be all uneven. We'd have 4 belts traveling along. I'm talking myself into it. Like, we should do it if I've done it for everything else. Everything else is... Well, actually, the sulfur isn't load balanced, right? So that means the ore doesn't have to be. Yeah, so we'll leave it. All right, talked myself out of it. So you go in there. And we just do this all the way down the line. Just manifolding our way down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the other thing that gets a bit complicated with this is we can't run this at 100% yet. We can only run it at 50%. So all of this would have to actually be clocked to half of its own speed. So I'll probably go in and do that. But I'll have to leave display signs or something to let me know that, hey, you did clock those machines on the bottom. So you're going to have to remember that, you know, remember what speed they were at. In fact, I don't need that one. So this could be a Mark II. This is probably going to be too long to go in there. Yeah. Let's go to there for a sec. Go straight in. We'll get rid of that pole and we'll just put down a one of these. So same thing. And another one maybe here. Alright, good. I guess it's kind of weird. I often think like that wouldn't really support it very well. You should probably have it here. At the very least. Okay, so that's Mark II out of its mind. The rest can just stay as Mark IV and figure themselves out as they manifold their way down. I've got no problem with that. Nice. Excellent. Alright, so this is our input for Caterium ore now. Everything else is, I think, done. I think that's pretty much it. So it's just a matter of running all of this. So we won't be able to run it continuously until like pretty much the entire build is up. But I'd like to turn it on and have some fun with it today. So what I'd probably do is have some fluid buffers that can just handle the extra sulfuric acid, and then we'll just dump it into the river there. It's for no problem, you know. We'll just empty it all out. So let me just get a few things finalized and prepared for that. But we also still have to go over to the Caterium and get it fed over here properly also. So just bear with me. Right, so I'm just floating over the Caterium deposit. There's a really nice natural sort of rock bridge here. So the idea would be that we get the Caterium, we roll along here, we go across the bridge, and then we go up some sort of tower that will lead up to our refinery area just over there. It's much more difficult to make that look good than you might think. So especially if you want to stay on the grid. I'm happy to go off grid. You know, it'd be really nice to build a sort of something that goes across this arch that looks quite good and just follows the natural like geography of it or terrain or whatever, but then we do need to find a way to blend that into some sort of tower, and we could use curved belts and just have it like go out of the lane, curve into a sort of a tower, and then go up. Next to the tower we could have like a personal elevator that could take us up and down, and maybe, just because I'm crazy, some stairs along the back as well, just so that you can get up and down if you were to lose power. So yes, I'm pretty happy to do that. So it's going to be temporary. I don't have time to do all that kind of cosmetic work now. I really want to focus on just getting the factory up and running, but anytime I find between episodes, between recordings, like I'll just be jumping in and trying to clean these things up and make them look a bit better. That's what I do all the time with the world anyway. But obviously I want to get as much looking good as possible by the time we turn on things, but it's a big factory, time is short, so let's just, you know, cut some corners here or there. One thing I did want to show though is if you grab a foundation, let's go up to 1 meter, and we do, actually let me illustrate this first. We had something like a lift here at the bottom. So we want this lift to go all the way to the top, right? If we want to go all the way up, we hit a limit, right? That's our limit. If you want to extend that limit, you can do so via a little trick to do with the floor holes. So if we just grab, say, this, and we go to 1 meter here at the top, and we stick a floor hole in there, and then I just fall all the way down, maybe to somewhere about here, and we put a floor hole there. The lifts will just connect between 2 floor holes, no problem, regardless of distance. So we'll go to Mark 5, bring this all the way down, and we've hit our limit, but if we just look at the floor hole down here, it connects. So now we have a super long straight lift, and then at the back of this, bring that to here. So at the back of this, you know, I'd probably have a pillar or something. You could actually, like, get rid of this, get rid of that. Oh, actually, you can't get rid of the lift. Yeah, but it's not a big deal. But anyways, yeah, a pillar going along the back of it to support it or something might look kind of cool. Or even doing these things and just, like, have it wedged in there or something. You know, we'll figure it out, make it look somewhat decent. But for now, let's just go Mark 5. We'll stay straight until this point. And then we're, I don't know, just go with curved mode after that. I'll just bring that out there. So I'll probably lose power now in a second. Speaking of power, I removed the power up there. Surface too uneven, really. I removed the power that was up there because it's variable power. This is a variable line right here, actually. I need to get the regular line and send it up here because this place is going to need it. So, going to get rid of that smelter now. You've done your job. You can be Mark II'd. Get a Mark 5, and we can connect that in. Now, this is interesting. Yeah, okay, that's okay. I'll just connect this anyway. And we'll get this set up. So, Pop that back in. Make it 600 per minute. I gotta outpace this now because I don't want it going into the machines before the water and stuff does. Or sulfuric acid. I think it's actually probably going to beat me there. I'm going as fast as I can. Oh no. I was just going to cut the belt. Actually, no, I think the belt is already cut up here, isn't it? Yes. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so I'll probably just cut this just before it goes into the machines. I need to bring up the regular power line, and then we are good to start the system. I've got some awesome sinks and fluid buffers in place now so that we can at least run it, build up some sulfuric acid and some deuterium, leached deuterium. So for now, where could I cut it? I guess we could just cut the belt even at this spot would be alright, just before it goes into its lift. And then we'll just add it back over there. Is that Mark 4? Oh, that should be a Mark 5. We'll have to update that. So let's get our Mark 5 here. Alright, and connect that there. Update that all the way down. Alright, cool. So it's just about ready for me to send it into those machines. So I'm just going to drag power up from somewhere down there up to this location and we're good to go. Alright, so with power here, we're ready to go. So in order to get started... Oh yeah, we can finally fly again. In order to get started, we'll just hook up the water, let that get going first, and then the water out here. This is all being, like I said, not underclocked, but I've cut off half the machines. I'll just switch this on. Did we have a clean power line before this? Actually, I wasn't checking. Looks pretty good. Oh yeah, it was. Nice. It just got a bump here because I turned on the hover pack. Yeah, super stable. 8541. Nice. Alright, so with that, some of the water extractors should be starting. Yes, there we go. Alright, so 50% of the water extractors are running. Our little baby extractor here is also running. So by the time these machines get their water, once they do, we'll turn on the sulfur. So half the machines are powered right now, and then all of these ones are just underclocked because that just made life a little easier than turning on and off some of them. So in that case, we should be making 600 sulfuric acid per minute, and 300 sulfuric acid should be going into these. So these should all be receiving 100 per minute. This one then is just receiving the water, which would normally be 120, but we've changed it now to be 60. So 12 per minute each, and they're getting their water, so no problem. Alright, cool. So yeah, just a matter of waiting until the water kind of fills things up, and then we'll turn on the miner. So that's set to 600 per minute is a pure node. Obviously when we get Mark 3, this doubles and it becomes a 1200 per minute node. So that's why everything's running at 50% right now, just to reinforce that. So there we go. Sulfur is flying along. We now have the belt speed of 780, of course, thanks to our aluminum factory. So we can just follow this for now. I still got to get rid of that little uranium deposit that's there. And now we're going to evenly distribute into the 3 groups. Now, it's going to be making its way down and getting blocked a little bit, so it's not going to be super even just for a little while, but eventually they'll all start turning on and staying on soon enough. But there we go. We're making our first little batch of sulfuric acid and spitting it out. So that's going to be spit out and then filling all of these refineries. So we're going to wait until they filled those refineries with sulfuric acid, just like we've done just now for water. And then once they have, then we activate the deuterium and we allow that to flow in. By the looks of things, sulfuric acid seems to have filled all of these refineries, so I think we are just about good to go, even the one in the end. Yeah, nice. Alright, so we can connect the deuterium. What about this line? Yep, this is good too. And just to be sure. Excellent. Alright. 600 per minute. Let's go, please. You'll love to see it. Is this taking in Mark 1? Yeah, 27 per minute. So that's totally fine. They're all clocked down to 50%, these ones. And we're just about to make our first batches of leached deuterium ingots. 18 per minute at the moment. So 36 per minute in the future. And hopefully not too long in the future. I mean, there is a lot to build with this factory, but by the time the end of the factory gets built, this should all be able to ramp up its speed should it need to. So there's going to be a lot of it's going to be a fairly big job running around this factory, reconnecting the machines that are disconnected and making sure they're all running at 100 again. There we go. The deuterium is rolling out. Now, we should be getting whatever 780 divided by 2 is. So eventually 390 if you want to see that everything is working properly. So we have our belt counter here. It'll take a while to obviously democratize and get its reading correct, but yeah, what was it? 390 is what we're aiming for. If we get a clean 390, we know it's all working properly. I was gonna say in the meantime I could do some cosmetics, but I'm afraid to touch anything right now until we build a little bit more. So the final thing to do, I'll probably bring it to the next episode, but for this build up here is this additional pipeline, right? This is the pipeline that's coming out, and then we have this belt of Caterium. These two are gonna move along and then go down the waterfall on the right side. So I'll just show you the view that I'm planning on sending things down out of. And then up here, yeah, and then it's into a place where we can get the sulfuric acid, mix it with copper and iron to make both leached copper and leached iron ingots to get a really high volume of both. So, you know, we're going to be aiming for somewhere right down there. There's a nice little kind of spot here that seems like it'd be perfect to send things down. So we just bring this out a little bit and then like send it down and then have it either... One thing I'm a bit unsure of, should it go straight down or should it ramp? If it went straight down, we could build... It would have to go up quite far. You know, it would probably have to go to somewhere about there. So there'd be this massive thing going all the way out to here, and then it would go straight down. The benefit is you could have an elevator that's straight. If it's ramped, we can't necessarily use an elevator for the majority of it, but we could, of course, use an elevator for a little bit, and then have a stairwell next to the ramp to allow us to run up alongside the pipe. So if anyone has a preference for either, I'm leaning towards ramp, but I could go either way. So an angled sort of thing with the pipes just on a straight angle, like a nice solid angle the whole way down, really. Could look kind of cool going from maybe there to about there. But yeah, whatever angle we can work with, right? It's the steepest double ramp that we can use, I guess, or the single ramp. Maybe the tilted walls at 8 meters actually could work too if we make it concrete. I'll have to play around with it. Right, so I'm all the way down here now with no way to get up. I'm just going to go zipline my way back up and have a look at how things are going. I was actually thinking while I'm passing by, we might as well dump a lot of our bio-organic material that we picked up. So it killed a lot of animals up there. Drop the leaves, the mycelia, the slugs into our biofuel sorting facility. Let it all get worked out. This place is just obviously backed up, so there's nothing for us to really do. But it'll make more power shards, and that'll just naturally go into our dimensional depot if we need them. Alright, so I'm not even sure how that's possible, but we're doing 408 per minute, so I'm guessing we're actually doing 390 per minute, and it's just, for some reason, overcounting by quite a bit, actually. I've never seen it be that much off. I often say they're off, but never by that much. But I've counted everything, checked it twice. I don't think we should be over 390. But anyways, not a big deal, because we're running at 50% of the planned version. The clock speed is just ramping up now. I've noticed that we've got green lights across the board, so there should be really no issue. Caterium seems to have filled all the machines. The miner's running at 100%. The sulfuric acid was getting slightly backed up because it was waiting on the Caterium machines. Again, not a problem though. It just means you're backing up the miner ultimately, and maybe the water extractors. Water extractors are all good, and I've just flushed the buffers, so they've got more room to keep filling. But it was just a nice little test, just to see this place all running at 50%, but still running nice and smooth. And what's beautiful as well, as always, is the power line. So our power line, when I turn off my hoverback, we're running at 9392.5 megawatts, and that is about 40-ish megawatts under the max consumption. So that's because a few of these machines are actually hooked up, but they're not running power. And also, something I'd forgotten and did a while back was out at this water tower here, I've connected like a series of pumps, maybe like 8 pumps or something like that, to the power network, but they're not on right now. They're turned off, or at least they're not receiving water. So they count towards max consumption, but that's why we're, you know, there's a discrepancy in the two. So still nice and stable though. That stable line here, as I'm dragging my cursor back and forth, indicates this place is running nice and smooth. No hitching, no on and off. So if we can continue that throughout this entire build, that'd be awesome, like turning on components and keeping going. I was looking over things, you know, now that I've decided that we've got this excess amount of sulfuric acid, 75 per minute, we could just easily tone down the amount of sulfur and water in the future, but really using that 75 sulfuric acid to do something would be nice. Now you need sulfuric acid for a few different things, and we were talking about nuclear power before, and it can be used for that also. But I would say I'd like to just use it in making more iron ingots. We need steel pipe in this recipe, so I feel like we could just make iron pipe or do something else with it. So I might make some adjustments to the recipe that I showed earlier and the overall plan. But ultimately, just getting more out of what we have is good. I mean, it will actually mean building less, so that's nice. So yeah, we're going to have to leave it there for this episode. All about sulfur, this one. What we're going to do in the next one, I imagine, is maybe along this along the quartz chain of things, or just continuing, you know, with the sulfur, getting the sulfur down, adding the copper to it, leaching the copper into 2,400 ingots or something like that. So we'll need multiple different lines for that, and then like kind of laying the foundations of the actual factory proper. So a lot to come, obviously, as time goes on, and we have to figure out getting the rail line hooked up to it. We have to figure out the road, truck stations. There's a lot to do. I'm looking forward to it, though. These messy, complicated builds where you're doing lots of different components are always the most fun. I built a huge copper factory before, and while it was interesting and it's massive, it's kind of quite boring because it's all just like volume. It's all to do with the one thing that you're making. Whereas this place would be, none of the objects are like that high volume ultimately, but there's so many different things to consider that makes it, like, I find really interesting. I also just recently built on a stream a weapons factory that makes every weapon in the game and every ammo type. So there's like 30 components or something, and I found that having so many different unique components actually is like the more interesting and fun challenge in the game for me. And it's probably why I really enjoyed building uranium, because there were so many components that had to go into that, or for nuclear power, I mean. So anyway, that's a bit of a ramble there at the end. Thank you very much for watching. Please do leave a like on the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new, or if you just haven't for some reason. I get a lot of comments from people, and they're not subscribed, and they say they watch all my videos. Come on, man. Click the button. It helps. Alright, that's going to be it for me. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to the channel members, and I'll see you in the next one.